Kyle Busch gave an interesting response this past weekend when asked about his NASCAR Cup Series future. Could his days at Richard Childress Racing already be numbered? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Monday. You know what they say, the grass isn't always greener. We will get to that in just a moment, but first a quick teaser. The latest edition of my power rankings are coming in hot. I can't wait to share my latest top 10 list with you all. That's coming up at the end of this episode. But let's begin with Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has come up a lot recently. He's a two-time Cup Series champion who's fighting for a playoff spot this year, still looking for his first win of the season. It's been a struggle in 2024, that goes without saying. He's been going through a particularly tough stretch recently, crashing out of cup races, truck races, tests, physical altercations. It's always something with this team. Early in the year, it was bad pit stops, sometimes bad strategy, sometimes it's Kyle Busch driving in over his head, a little over aggressive, lashing out. At Sonoma, he both ran out of gas and got dumped by Ross Chastain on the final lap. Just some bad luck. At Iowa, parts and pieces breaking on the car in the closing laps. Anything that can go wrong has gone wrong for Kyle Busch, which has led to some speculation that he could be looking for a way out of his contract with Richard Childress Racing. RCR reportedly has an option for Kyle Busch for the year 2025. Busch has said that he plans to stay with the team next season. But with silly season in full flux, many wonder if Kyle Busch could be on the move anyways. Wouldn't be the first time in recent memory an RCR driver left before their contract was up. Stewart-Haas is dissolving. Other teams are looking to expand. Joe Gibbs Racing now has an open seat. Kyle Busch was asked about a possible Joe Gibbs Racing reunion this past weekend at Iowa. And Busch responded, quote, "I would say that anything is possible, always. If I was welcomed, I would go back. If Hendrick welcomed me back, I would go back. But right now, I'm at RCR with my group of guys and the deal that I have right now in place. We're trying to work and build this program and make RCR great again." Whew. He finishes with a flourish, but the beginning of that statement is wild. Kyle Busch just said straight up that if given the opportunity, he'd go race for rival organizations, Joe Gibbs Racing or Hendrick Motorsports, while he's under contract with Richard Childress. I guess I appreciate the honesty. I'm sure any driver not driving for Hendrick or Gibbs would gladly take one of those seats over their current situation, but you're not supposed to actually say that out loud to the media. Imagine if Matthew Stafford said publicly that, hey, if the Lions gave me a call, I would happily go back to Detroit. He would lose the Los Angeles locker room like that. I get the frustration from Kyle Busch. He's 18th on the playoff grid, 31 points out, trying to extend his 1 win per year streak. But that's why this is the perfect time to batten down the hatches, tighten things up, focus forward. There is so much on the line the second half of this season. Stay focused on the here and now, not entertaining these hypothetical questions, name-dropping two rival organizations. How do you think that made Richard Childress or Randall Burnett feel? Richard Childress Racing brought Kyle Busch in because he's a leader, a proven champion. He's got to act like one. We've never questioned Kyle Busch's talent, really. The bigger question has always been the mental side. Can Kyle Busch stay focused? Can he stay out of his own way? Stop stepping on rakes? He's proven throughout his career that he doesn't always handle adversity well. Sometimes he does. Sometimes you see him driving angry. He's motivated. He's incredible. But other times he'll make bad mental mistakes that get him suspended or parked for 2 laps or hooked up to the back of a tow truck. This is where 39-year-old two-time Cup Series champion, future Hall of Famer Kyle Busch needs to be the leader Richard Childress Racing hired him to be. If he walks at the end of 2025, so be it. But that's 18 months from now. Be the leader your team expects you to be. If we're going to sit here and entertain hypotheticals, I'm not even sure Kyle Busch to Joe Gibbs Racing is a good fit at this point. Let's assume they've patched things up. They've rebuilt that bridge that might have been busted last year or 2 years ago. I still don't know if it would make sense. As great as Martin Truex Jr. has been, and honestly still is, it's been difficult the past few years for Joe Gibbs Racing to build confidently for the future. Kyle Busch is 39 years old, could easily race for a few years, but we haven't seen peak prime Kyle Busch since 2019. I mean, maybe the first few months of last year, Kyle looked pretty great, pretty motivated, won a few races, but that was only over like 3 or 4 months. It's been a while since we've seen Kyle Busch put together a full championship-worthy season. I mean, really, you would have to go back to 2019. Even the last couple of years at Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch didn't look like his usual dominant self. I don't know. If I'm Joe Gibbs Racing, I would use these next couple of years to build out your own Hendrick Motorsports-esque roster. Like, Hendrick Motorsports has 4 really talented young guys. Like, Kyle Larson's the old guy of the group, and he's not old. Joe Gibbs Racing has Christopher Bell, who I think is a future champion. Ty Gibbs, a lot of raw potential there. Denny Hamlin's still great. Sounds like Chase Briscoe could get that 4th seat. I think that's a good strategy. Chase Briscoe's 29 years old, and he's never really gotten to drive a great NASCAR Cup Series car. Remember, his first year joining Stewart-Haas was the same year Kevin Harvick went winless. That's the kind of equipment Briscoe's been dealing with the last 4 years. So put Chase Briscoe in a proven JGR seat. I think that's the right way to go. I'm not sure an aging Kyle Busch makes sense for Joe Gibbs Racing at this point. Again, if we're going to entertain this hypothetical scenario, it's hypothetical right now, but I guess after 2025, all bets are off. Kyle Busch could be one of the more interesting free agents this time next year. So I guess we'll keep our eyes open. Anyway, moving on from Kyle Busch, let's talk power rankings. Y'all know the drill. Every week, I rank the top 10 overall fastest drivers and teams in the NASCAR Cup Series right now. A little bit of movement this week. Let's get started. Real quick honorable mention, Chris Buescher falls out of my top 10 this week. I had to reward the guy who won the race, spoiler alert. Chris Buescher's been inconsistent lately, but I still feel he could pop off a win at any time. At number 10, Alex Bowman, still hanging on to a top 10 spot. 8th place run at Iowa, it's what he does. He's been extremely consistent this year. I respect it. He's not contending for wins. In fact, Bowman hasn't led a single lap in 12 straight races. Now, his average finish in that same span is 12th, which is pretty darn good. I still want to see race-winning speed from this team at least once. He's not collecting many stage points either. Like, it's crazy to me that Alex Bowman is tied for the most top 10s this year. He's not DNFing, yet he's 12th in points. Why? Because everyone ahead of him has earned more stage points this year than Alex Bowman. So I'll start with Alex Bowman at 10. I still think that's fair. Welcome back to the top 10, Ryan Blaney. Boy, do I look foolish. After a brutal stretch of races, Blaney and Team Penske have found something in recent weeks. Go back to Gateway. Ryan Blaney easily could have won that race, ran out of fuel in the last lap. His teammate won that race instead. Blaney, though, bounced back with a good top 10 at Sonoma, a race where his teammate Joey Logano won the pole. They head to Iowa. Blaney wins a stage, wins the race. Strategy worked in their favor. They even overcame that untimely questionable caution at the end of stage 2. Great race, great win. Ryan Blaney deserving of a spot inside my top 10. Fun fact, Ryan Blaney has actually earned the second most stage points of anyone in the NASCAR Cup Series this year. That's shocking to me. At number 8, I think this is an all-time low this year for Martin Truex Jr. 5 straight finishes outside of the top 10. I know there's an asterisk next to Sonoma because he was running top 5, was in contention for the win until the final 2 corners or so. Martin Truex Jr. still 5th in the regular season standings, but is now more than 60 points out of the regular season points lead. I am optimistic though, now that it's out in the open. He's retiring from full-time racing at the end of this year. Hopefully that's a weight off their shoulders. They can focus forward, have some fun these next few months. I look for Truex to move further up my board rather than keep dropping. I've got his teammate Christopher Bell in the 7 spot. 2nd straight week, Christopher Bell was the best running Joe Gibbs Racing driver, top 5 at Iowa. He's got 2 wins on the year, that's 4th best in the Cup Series, 6 stage wins, 2nd best. And I know he's got this weekend's race at New Hampshire circled on his calendar, one of his and Toyota's best tracks on the schedule. Christopher Bell at 7. At number 6, Brad Keselowski. Ever since that Darlington win 5 races ago, Keselowski's average finish has been 5.8. That's pretty incredible. He struggled on restarts this past weekend, but had good long run speed, played the pit strategy well towards the end to score another top 10 finish. A crazy stat that jumps out about Brad Keselowski, he's top 10 in the regular season standings, has that win at Darlington, but he's the only driver top 10 in points without a single stage victory. If Brad Keselowski's going to make a deep playoff run, he needs to start racking up some more playoff points between now and the end of August. Top 5, I'll begin with Tyler Reddick. Yes, he struggled at Iowa. It was kind of an afterthought, but Previous 3 races, he had finishes of 4th, 4th, 8th. He was really good at Sonoma, especially at the start, won a stage, so I think Tyler Reddick still stays in my top 5. Iowa, I'm just going to consider that an outlier. I really like Tyler Reddick's overall speed. Moving back into my 4th position, though, finally, a little bounce back here for Big Bill Byron. William Byron at number 4, finished 2nd at Iowa. Also moves back up to 4th in the regular season standings. Okay, it's been a while since those 3 victories at the start of the year, but maybe things beginning to trend in the right direction. Never count out Hendrick Motorsports. Let's get to the top 3. Chase Elliott is now the regular season points leader. How about that? A lot of folks in my comments this weekend were saying he's having a Matt Kenseth 2003 championship type of season. 1 win, but a ton of top 5s and top 10s. Great average finish, 9.1, best in the series. The only reason I can't move Chase Elliott into one of my top 2 spots just yet is because, while he's been very consistent, and I love that, he's not showing winning speed. He's got the win at Texas for sure, but we remember a lot of circumstances had to fall into place for that to happen. Chase only has 1 stage win this year, and when I compare Chase Elliott's numbers to number 2, Denny Hamlin. Hamlin has 3 stage wins, 3 race wins, and has led 4 times as many laps as Chase Elliott. They're not in the same zip code. Talking about Denny Hamlin, now Iowa was really bad, probably his worst race of the year. Sonoma was also rough, only made it 2 laps before his engine blew. But before that, he had 5 straight top 5s. I've seen enough from Denny Hamlin that when the car isn't broken or the engine isn't exploding, Denny Hamlin's going to be a favorite to win every single week, seemingly regardless of track. I think New Hampshire, especially this weekend, I mentioned Christopher Bell, his teammate Denny will also be a contender. So I think Denny Hamlin stays in the 2 spot for now. And at number 1, once again, Kyle Larson. He won the pole at Iowa, led 80 laps, won a stage despite a tire issue sending him to the rear early on. Larson has 3 wins on the year. He's 2nd in the regular season standings despite missing a race. And look at his laps led these last few races. 39, 63, 15, 7, 19, 80. That's at a variety of different racetracks. 8 stage wins on the season, leads all drivers. Kyle Larson, number 1, once again. He's just the fastest, most consistently. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my power rankings this weekend. Look forward to reading your comments. That's going to do it for this episode, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more NASCAR content, commentary, race recaps, and more every single day. And a huge thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters. Have a great rest of your day, folks. I will see you again in the next episode.